This is why you should never steal anything from a museum, because you have no idea what's going to come along with it. If you want to steal something, you should steal something new, like an iPad or data. But sometimes you don't even have to take something to have a horrible curse thrown onto your body. For today's list, we are going to be counting down some of the worst witchcraft that could be attached to your person. Hello, Most Amazing Top 10 family. I am your host, Shade Arena, and welcome back to Most Amazing Top 10. I have scoured the internet to let all of you at home know what you should be on the lookout for with today's list of top 10 scary real life curses. For any of you at home who are looking for more Most Amazing Top 10 content, you should head over to our Instagram and Facebook pages because we have a ton of stuff over there for you guys. And stick around until the end of this video because I'm going to be doing some more pet shoutouts, which you guys love so much. Remember, if you want me to shout out your pet, you can hit me up on Instagram. And without taking any longer, let's get into this list. Coming in at number 10, we have the My Way curse. Are you a big time karaoke fan? Do you love to jam out to Frank Sinatra? Well, you might want to avoid My Way as your next pick because it might not end that well for you. For this curse, we're gonna have to head over to the Philippines. The curse is pretty straightforward, but still extremely bizarre. It seems that there is a considerably high amount of people who have been killed while singing the song My Way during karaoke. Wait. What? How could someone get killed by a song? Well, it's not so much that people are singing the song and then they drop dead like the 7th day after you've watched The Ring on VHS. No, these killings can be as serious as shooting. Someone in the Philippines was once shot while singing My Way, and the person who was guilty for committing this horrible act said they did this because they didn't like the way the person was singing the song. That's a little bit of a harsh reaction if you ask me. I would probably just put in some headphones or something. There have been over a dozen people who have been linked to deaths that involve the singing of My Way. This is so weird. Coming in at number 9, we have Anna Baker's wedding dress. I'm telling you, it is impossible to do a list of curses, ghosts, or haunted buildings without throwing in a lady who had her wedding screwed up. And let me tell you, Anna Baker is no different. Anna Baker was dying to get married. She had everything ready to go. She had bought the dress. She had the venue picked out. And least important, she had the dude she wanted to marry. But right when her wedding date was coming up, her dad kiboshed the whole thing. So Anna, now depressed, had to walk away from her love and pack up her dress and never ended up getting married. The Baker house in Pennsylvania, where the family used to live, is now a museum, and many people will come to experience the curse of Anna Baker. It's said that her angry ghost still walks the halls, and sometimes it will rattle the glass case where her wedding dress is being held. Coming in at number 8, we have the curse of King Tut's tomb. I mean, you break into a place that's not yours. You read something on the wall that says, beware, if you dig this dude up, you're gonna die, and then a bunch of you go in anyway, and then a bunch of you die. What did you think was gonna happen? You can't be that rude and have no consequences. If you don't know, in the early 1920s, some archaeologists found the tomb of King Tutankhamun, and even though there were several warnings around the tomb saying death will come swiftly to any of those who decide to enter, they decided to enter anyways, disturbing this peaceful dude. And guess what happened? Over the course of 6 years, 11 people who went to the tomb or people who were attending the dig died all prematurely. So the moral of this story is, if it's not yours, don't touch it. Coming in at number 7, we have Timur's curse. Another dude who was buried and left a note that he didn't want to be dug up, or he will bring a lot of problems. That's what I'm gonna put on my tomb. That way, no one will ever mess with my remains. Or I'll just get cremated and I'll have someone dump my ashes into the place where they keep all the powder for the Kraft mac and cheese, because I think that would be really funny. But my boy Timur was one of the most ruthless conquerors of all time. He killed millions of people, and on his tomb it said, don't open it or you will bring the wrath of someone worse than me. I'm paraphrasing. So Joseph Stalin thought it would be a good idea to dig this dude up, and then guess what happened? Hitler invaded Russia. Maybe you shouldn't go messing around with curses in the middle of the biggest war the world has ever seen. That's just a suggestion, but I think it's a pretty good one. Coming in at number 6, we have Saint Anne's Well. I don't know who you need to be to pull off a curse, but it seems like people can just throw them around sometimes. The curse of Saint Anne's Well goes all the way back to the year 1066. This is when the well was built. It's said that when the well was constructed, it was immediately made a holy site because Saint Anne herself came through and blessed the well. It was something that was revered by the public for centuries. People would travel to wash their body in the well, and it said that it would bring good fortune and remove all of your blackheads from your skin in one wash. As time passed on, the land was eventually owned by Hugh Darcy. It seemed kind of wrong to have such a sacred site owned by one man, but this was now the year 1700 1500s, so things had changed. Well, Hugh got some pushback from the church about the ownership of the land, and eventually this led to a priest putting a curse on the well. It didn't take long for one of Hugh's sons to fall ill and eventually die, and then his wealth melted away. This all ended when his body was found dead at the mouth of the well. Coming in at number 5, we have Otzi the Iceman. I gotta say, this one is a very unfair curse. Curses usually have some sort of warning on them. There's usually a little bit of a heads up before you touch something that is going to kill you, but this curse just came out of nowhere. The Iceman was the mummified body of a 5,000-year-old dude who was shot in the back with an arrow. Not the most ideal way to go. You're just digging around for some food, maybe you're bird watching a little bit, and the next thing you know, you got an arrow in your back. Geez, that's a good way to ruin your day. Well, there was a team of people who dug this dude out and brought him back to the lab so they could do some investigative work on our mummified friend. Well, within less than a year, 3 of the people who were involved in this research had died, and another person died moments after attending one of the funerals. So I guess the rule of this curse is don't touch any mummies, which is honestly a very easy rule to follow. Coming in at number 4, we have Twilight Zone, the movie. It only makes sense that a movie based on a TV show that was about horrible things happening to people in twisted ways should have a curse on it. The public wouldn't have it any other way. Well, Twilight Zone, the movie, had one of the most insane accidents to ever take place on a movie set, and this led everyone to the conclusion that the movie and the filming of it was cursed. A helicopter crash on set sent 3 people to an early grave. 2 of them were children, and the third was one of the principal actors who goes by the name of Victor Morrow, who was decapitated by one of the helicopter blades. Now, if you want to increase the spooky factor of this movie curse, Morrow had something left behind for his family, which was a $5 million life insurance policy. The reason that this was in place was because a year before his death on set, he had a dream where he died in a helicopter crash. The dream was so vivid that he rushed to get the life insurance policy because he was convinced that he had just witnessed his own death, and he was right. Coming in at number 3, Jesus puts out a curse. Man, I didn't know that Jesus was in the game of putting out curses, but I guess everyone can get frustrated at times. The story goes like this. Jesus was living in the city of Chorazin, and he was working out some major miracles on people, like the sick were coming back looking fresh. But a lot of those people in that city would take a miracle and then walk on to still be sinners, which is very rude. Like, you cure a guy's diabetes and then he goes on to keep eating Twinkies. So Jesus just put a curse on the whole city, and everyone got out of there very quickly. The city is now known as Galil, and it's still said to have some bad mojo in place. Coming in at number 2, we have the August curse. You wait all year for summer to roll around, and then you gotta worry about a crummy curse working its way into your life. This curse stems from Russia, and it's simply the belief that bad things happen in August. Leave it to Russia to give a whole month a curse, but there is some evidence backing this up. The Russians opened the Eastern Front in World War I during August, and the Battle of Stalingrad happened in August. There's also been many terrorist attacks that have happened in August. It would be so much better if this curse could just take place in January or some other crummy winter month. And coming into the number 1 spot, we have the Bassano vase. This is a classic curse which I have put on lists before, but I keep using it because this one has to be the most intense curse I have ever read about. The Bassano vase is a solid silver vase which was a wedding gift for a bride who was killed on her wedding day. The vase was passed on to her family, and everyone who owned it died. No one avoided the curse. So the vase was buried and eventually dug up 400 years later. Again, everyone who came in contact with the vase died. No one has been able to overcome the curse. So the vase has been once again buried in a secret location and hopefully will never be found again. But if you dig up a solid metal box with a warning on it and it has a beautiful silver vase inside of it, just know that you'll be dead within a month. Coming at number 10, we have the Passion of the Christ curse. Cursed movies are a pretty common thing. Cursed movie sets are even more common than that. It should be no surprise that making a movie about the Son of God being brutally killed as a ton of people watching horror brought some bad mojo. It seems that God is quite the critic because 2 people on set of this movie were struck by lightning. I mean, I'm not a religious person, but you gotta admit that is pretty weird. Well, one of the people who got hit by lightning was the lead of the movie, who was obviously playing Jesus. And as the film would continue production, it would seem that lightning was the least of his problems. While carrying the cross, he would dislocate his shoulder. While getting whipped, he would actually have his skin sliced open. And at one point, he would get a lung infection, and at another point, his makeup would cause him to get get a skin infection. So if you don't want to get this curse, then don't play Jesus in a movie. Oh, and on top of this, there's also a curse that almost every single person who plays Jesus in a movie has their career die after. Coming in at number 9, we have bone pointing. Here's a great way to avoid a curse. Don't be rude to people, and then there will be no reason for a person to give you a curse. In fact, if you're nice to people, you might even get blessed, and then you'll have good mojo for days. Well, bone pointing is an Australian Aboriginal curse where a shaman will choose to execute someone by putting a curse on them. They will point a bone at them, say some stuff, and then your fate is sealed, my friend. The curse is supposed to bring illness and death. Many people who have had this done to them will stop eating to bring their fate on faster. Nurses in Australia have been trained to deal with patients who come in claiming to be cursed. Now it would seem that the curse is only psychosomatic, but people will experience a placebo effect believing that they are cursed, and they will actually become ill. So if you get cursed with some bone pointing, you have to use positive thinking to overcome the curse. Coming in at number 8, we have the curse of Billy Bob Thornton. It's already very hard to make it as a successful actor in Hollywood. Now you're going to slap a curse next to your name, and it can make it nearly impossible to get work. This curse is a little unfair to Billy Bob because he hasn't done anything wrong. It just seems that people who work with him on movie sets kick the bucket not too long after they share the screen with him. And none of these people have died from natural causes. Patrick Swayze, J.T. Walsh, Jim Varney, John Ritter, and Bernie Mac all have had movies with the famous character actor, and every single one of them has been taken out by some sort of illness or degenerative disease. So if you're watching this and you get casted in a movie with him, then you should probably take the job, because that is a massive opportunity, and just hope that the curse works its way over to someone else. Coming in at number 7, we have the curse of poltergeist. If you're working on a movie and some of the props look a little too real, maybe you should ask them where they got them from, because the rumor for the movie Poltergeist is that they used real skeletons. Yeah, that's a great way to bring some dark energy on set. This led to the entire series being cursed in a bunch of different ways. There were 4 different people who starred in the movies that died. There were several people who worked on the movies who said that they were haunted during the filming as well as years afterwards. I wonder if they got any sort of bonus pay for having a spirit torment them after they had finished filming. I would at least hope you get overtime or something for that. There is also one of the creepiest toy clowns that has ever been seen on screen in that movie. There's a scene where this toy clown chokes a young boy, and guess what? He actually started getting choked. The prop was programmed improperly, and it nearly killed the kid. Coming in number 6, you have the Bjorktorp runestones. You have some old runestones with a warning on them, and it says anyone who tries to damage or steal these runestones will be doomed or have some horrible things happen to them. It's like, dude, just listen to the warning. What do you even want a chunk of a runestone for? Just get a normal rock that doesn't have a curse on it. Well, the legend about the runestone is that the curse has been put on them by a powerful druid to protect them. Well, a bunch of people would think that's hogwash, but one dude apparently went to chip off a piece of the runestones. He was probably just doing this to prove a point, and he chose to do this by burning it with a blowtorch. It was extremely cold out, and he figured that the heat would cause the runestone to crack. Well, guess what happened? The wind changed direction, and then he lit himself on fire. Now that sounds like a freak accident, and it probably was, but you can guarantee that I won't be lighting up any runestones anytime soon. Coming in at number 5, we have the 27 Club. If you're a world famous musician and you have a habit for taking a bunch of drugs, you might want to take it easy on your 27th year on this planet. The 27 Club is very strange. It would seem that there is a large amount of world famous musicians who have kicked the bucket before they hit age 28. Just to put in perspective how many legends are members of the 27 Club, we have Kurt Cobain, Amy Winehouse, Janis Joplin, Jim Morrison, Jimi Hendrix. There's also Alan Wilson and Brian Jones, but some of you out there might not remember them. I mean, there are way more musicians who have made it past the age 27 than haven't, but it's still quite mysterious. I think many musicians give a sigh of relief when they hit age 28. Either they think, thank God I made it there, or they think I was never famous enough for anyone to care if I died anyways. Coming in at number 4, we have Little Bastard, the 550 Porsche Spider that James Dean drove and had one of the most famous curses of all time. This car was nicknamed Little Bastard, and maybe if you're trusting a piece of machinery to get you everywhere, you should give it a nicer name, because the car eventually was the reason that James Dean died. Well, maybe it was his driving, but nevertheless, Mr. Dean died in a car accident while driving this car. After the car crash, the car was taken to a mechanic, and while rigged up, the car fell on the mechanic's leg and shattered it. There were pieces salvaged from the car and put into other cars, and several of those cars ended up in accidents where people either died or were seriously injured. And and there was even a crew of people who broke into the yard where the car was being held, and one of them died when the body of the car fell on them, crushing them to death. So yeah, just leave this car alone. Coming in at number 3, we have the Gillette curse. Don't get their razors or you're gonna get a really bad razor burn. No, don't worry, this curse won't affect you unless you're a famous athlete. Well, thank God. Those years are behind me. Gillette has a history of using famous athletes for part of their branding deals. That's just a pretty common thing. But it would seem that many of the athletes that sign a sponsorship deal with the company soon see their careers go into the toilet. Perfect example was Tiger Woods. Not long after the world-class golfer was the face of the shaving brand, he suffered a major knee injury. Then, due to this knee injury, he started to perform terribly at events and was even criticized for his bad attitude. I mean, give the guy a break. He was once the best in the world and now a crummy knee is making him lose. But wait, there's more. While the face of Gillette, there was also the major leak of Tiger Woods' affairs, which might have racked up to 120 women. At least he was still hitting holes in one somewhere. Hi-yo! Coming in at number 2, we have Venus in the Mirror. You think a painting that is supposed to represent beauty would be treasured, but no one wants this thing. Venus in the Mirror will take down anyone who is dumb enough to hang this thing in their home. Legend says that every owner of this painting has either had a horrible disease take their life or someone has come in and murdered them. There's even an added layer to this curse that says someone once tried to destroy the painting by cutting it with a knife, but the blade couldn't pierce the canvas. That's so creepy. And for our number 1 spot, we have Rasputin's curse. If you ever want a lesson in manipulation, lying, and lovemaking, then check this guy's backstory, but here's just a taste. Rasputin was born in 1869, and throughout his life, he started picking up the reputation for being a powerful clairvoyant. He was really just a con man, but very good at what he did. He was able to work his way into the Russian royal family, the Romanovs. He did this first by speaking to their youngest son, Alexis, who he would tell stories of spirituality, which would capture the young boy's mind. But he soon worked his way over to the women. He used his powers of manipulation to woo and seduce many of the women of the royal family, and I bet you can understand that the dudes in the house didn't dig this very much. So they decided that they would kill Rasputin. But Rasputin was sturdy. It took poison, gunshots, and drowning to send this dude to an early grave, and with his final breath, he mumbled that all of the Romanovs would be dead within a year. Well, a raid of the monarchy and slaughtering of all the figureheads would prove this curse right, so maybe he did have mystical powers after all.